What is going on, my Jets family? I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't, please subscribe. If you can subscribe to the channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. So, yesterday, the Jets traded tight end Chris Herndon to the Minnesota Vikings. The Jets got a fourth round pick in exchange, and they gave up Chris Herndon and a sixth round pick. So, we've talked about Chris Herndon in the past. He had a solid rookie year. Didn't really do he was suspended for a little while. His second year didn't do much. Last year he didn't do much at all. He's in a contract year. And as you guys remember, we talked about this before training camp started. I kind of even had him as a surprise cut. I mean, he's in a contract year. Just like Corey Davis last year, players usually ball out in a contract year. That's when you're going to get paid. Like, if you're not going to do it now, you're never going to do it. So, yeah, as we know, before training camp and OTAs and mini camp, he had a lot of drops, wasn't looking good. He was even running with the twos. Once training camp started, he looked better. He was playing better. He was making good catches, running with the ones. He even had a great block, as we remember, in that second preseason game for Tyler Kroft. On that touchdown, one of the touchdowns Tyler Kroft had, Herndon had a nice block. So we were hoping that, maybe he can have an okay year, maybe even a good year and a contract year, but he's in his fourth year. I mean, if he was going to be great, odds are it would have happened already, let's be honest. So Joe Douglas clearly didn't view Chris Herndon as part of our future plans. So Joe Douglas basically moves up 2 rounds and gets rid of a player that, like we just said, he didn't really view in his future plans. So instead of, just letting him walk at the end of the year, basically we were able to trade Chris and swap from a sixth up to a fourth. And as, we've talked about in the past, Joe Douglas, he accumulates picks. That's what he does. He accumulates them. He gets as many picks as he can. Anyone not in future plans, you get a pick for it. We saw that with Steve McClendon, last year. In 2020. He traded Steve McClendon for a later round pick. He was an older guy, wasn't in our future plans. I believe it was a sixth round pick, for him. Wasn't the worst thing. So now, like we said, with Chris Herndon, we basically traded him to the Minnesota Vikings and we moved up 2 rounds. We gave them Chris in a sixth and we got a fourth back. So now Joe Douglas has 7 draft picks in the first 4 rounds of next year's draft. And 4 of those picks are in the first 2 rounds alone. That's Joe Douglas, man. He's collecting those picks. He's building this team. We're a young building team. Like we said, someone who's not in the future plans, you move on. So we only have 2 tight ends on the roster right now because Daniel Brown was also cut. Ryan Griffin was cut. And Kenny Yeboah, I got to be honest, surprised for me. As you guys know, I thought Kenny Yeboah, did enough to potentially make, the roster as a young guy with potential, especially with the receiving talent he has. None of the other guys we have, they're all older, except for Wesco. But again, Trevon Wesco is really more of a blocking option. I really thought Yeboah would wind up sticking. But as of right now, we only have 2 tight ends left on the roster. Tyler Kroft and Trevon Wesco. So expect the Jets to be looking to possibly trade for a tight end or pick up one of the players that was cut. Because as we saw, over 30 players have been cut basically by each team over the last 2 days. So there's a lot of people available. I expect him to target offensive linemen because, as you guys know, I mentioned, our backup offensive line does not look good. I expect him to maybe target linebackers because we're thin there, cornerbacks because we're also thin there, but tight ends. So we only have 2 on the roster. Keep an eye out for Joe Douglas to trade for a tight end or, bring 1 or 2 in based on cuts. So, yeah, I mean, this was a great trade because, again, a guy that wasn't in our future plans, obviously Joe didn't view him as part of the future. And, as we said, he hasn't really earned a role. I mean, he's looked good his rookie year, but other than his rookie year, he's kind of looked like a bust. I mean, like I said, before training camp, I viewed him as a possible surprise cut because he was running with the twos, not a lot of drops. So we moved up 2 rounds, traded Chris to the Vikings. Now we basically swapped our sixth for a fourth. Joe Douglas, guys, Joe Douglas is a great GM. He knows what he's doing. He's collecting us picks. He's getting us as many as he can. We're building this team. We're building this team for success, brick by brick, pick by pick, and it probably won't be this year, but I'm telling you guys, next year we got a lot more picks in that draft. we should be able to compete next year. By next year, we should be a playoff-worthy team. Go Jets.